Pushkin. Hey there, it's Michael Lewis. Before we get to this episode, I want to let you know that you can listen to each episode of Judging Sam, the trial of Sam Bankman-Fried, ad-free by becoming a Pushkin Plus subscriber. And with your subscription, you'll also get exclusive access to ad-free and early bingeable podcasts, like Paul McCartney's new podcast, McCartney, A Life in Lyrics, Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History, The Happiness Lab from Dr. Laurie Santos, and tons of other top shows from Pushkin. Sign up in Apple Podcasts or at pushkin.fm/plus. Welcome to Judging Sam, the trial of Sam Bankman-Fried. I'm Michael Lewis. Bankman-Fried was worth tens of billions of dollars before FTX, his cryptocurrency exchange, came apart at the seams. And now he's being tried for financial crimes that could send him to prison for the rest of his life.
I'm Lidia Jean. It's the evening of October 16th, and if you've been listening to our show, you know that I spend every day at the courthouse reporting on the trial. Today was honestly supposed to be pretty uneventful, but it turned out to be anything but. I called Michael Lewis on my lunch break to explain what happened.
This call is now being recorded.
Hi.
There you are.
Yeah.
What happened this morning? Who was on the stand?
We all thought it was going to be not at all a big day. So I actually came in kind of later, and I checked in with the photographers. I was like, why are you guys even here? And they were like, just to get maybe a picture of Sam's parents. But yeah, Nishad took the stand.
So he's the one, by far, I know the most of the other insiders. I mean, I spent endless time with him. And he's the one who I'm least sure of how he's going to be. And I assume he's going to be unusual. Like, it's so personal. He's known Sam since he was 14. And he's so close to the family that it's a really peculiar situation. So I just kind of wonder how he would be on the stand. And so what did you think?
Yeah, that's interesting. He actually said he was always intimidated by Sam at first. And then when they asked him to follow up, he talked about how, I think the quote I wrote down is, Sam is a formidable character, brilliant. I always had respect for him. Over time that eroded. I became distrustful.
What was his demeanor?
To me, he looked confident, and I talked to the reporters who were in the courtroom when he came in because I was in the overflow, and they said that he walked in pretty comfortably too. I mean, I could see him, he was fidgeting a bit in his seat. He did that cute thing where you push your glasses up right when he sat down. And then the first half was all about Sam's spending and how it made Nishad
uncomfortable. Yes, Nishad was everywhere he turned. He was trying to shut down Sam from buying stuff.
Yeah. And he talked about, he even had a fight about it, and Nishad found it humiliating, and that Sam told Nishad that the real insidious problem was Nishad disagreeing with him, basically.
The prosecution also asked Nishad to tell the story of a Super Bowl party in LA. Sam was there, Nishad said, to consider giving millions of dollars of venture capital to K5, an investment company led by the host of the party, Michael Kivas. Nishad testified that he was against this investment and that it was an example of this kind of reckless spending that made him uncomfortable. Nishad testified that Sam disagreed. He said being connected to Kivas would bring in, quote, infinite connections for FTX. I recapped what happened for Michael, and he told me he was at that party.
I was at that dinner.
Yeah. Wow.
I've told you this. At the end of the dinner, Michael Kivas said, "You've got to meet Hillary," and I'd never met Hillary Clinton. And he brought me over, and Hillary she's like, looks at me, she says, like, "What are you doing here?" Because everybody else was so famous. And I said, there's this guy, there were 80 people there though. I said, there's this guy in there who I'm thinking about writing about. And she says, the guy with the hair. And I said, how'd you know that? She says, I thought he's exactly a character for you. It was a really funny exchange.
That is funny. That shows she's a fan. It was funny because Nishad had to go through and say who all these people were. So he said Hillary Clinton, former presidential candidate. And for Kendall and Kris Jenner, he said, I honestly could not tell you what they do, which made everyone laugh.
Neither can anybody else. Did they have Jeff Bezos there? Jeff Bezos was there.
Yes, he's on there.
Do they have Leo DiCaprio?
Yep, he's on the list.
Do they have Chris Rock?
Chris Rock was not on the list.
How about that? I can give you a better list. All right. Well, send me anything when you come out. I'm really curious about Nishad. Yeah,
Okay,
to be continued.
Bye.
After I spoke to Michael, I headed back into the courthouse, and a lot more happened. There's one moment that I want to highlight. Nishad testified that at a certain point in September 2022, Sam suggested shutting Alameda down. At this point, Caroline said it was impossible because Alameda owed FTX customers too much money. Nishad said that he was really startled to hear this, and he called for a meeting with Sam, Gary, Caroline, and Nishad. Sam made some excuse and didn't come to that meeting. At that meeting, Gary and Caroline explained to him how deep in the hole Alameda was. Nishad said he was horrified to hear this, and he immediately wanted to talk to Sam about it. He said that he hardly ever spoke to Sam one-on-one, but this seemed like a time where it seemed important to, and he wanted to speak to him in a place where they wouldn't be interrupted. So he asked to speak to him on the balcony of the penthouse where they lived. At this point, the prosecutors showed a picture of the balcony, which is pretty amazing. There's a pool, there's these baskets, there's these chaise lounges, and he described how Sam lay down in one of these chairs and Nishad was kind of urgently pacing. Nishad was freaking out about all the money that Alameda owed FTX, and Sam said that he too had been worried about it. In fact, he said, quote, "This has been taxing me for 5 or 10% of my productivity for the past year," which is a different vibe from Nishad, who, when he heard about this money, said, "Jesus fucking Christ." He asked Sam what the plan was, and Sam said that they were going to try and raise money to cover the hole. And afterwards, Nishad says he was deeply disturbed and he felt betrayed. He said that he felt like 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears of working towards something that he thought was good had turned out to be evil. He said that ever since that moment, he wanted to quit, but Sam made him feel like FTX needed him, and he was afraid that if he left, everything would come tumbling down. There was a lot more that happened. Nishad talked about FTX's endorsement deals, how Sam told him to backdate certain financial documents, and he discussed his political donations. We'll get to all of that and more in greater depth later this week. So keep listening, and if you haven't, leave a rating and a review. It helps others find the show.
This episode of Judging Sam was hosted by Lidia Jean Cott. Lidia Jean Cott is our court reporter. Catherine Girardeau and Nisha Venkat produced this show. Sophie Crane is our editor. Our music was composed by Matthias Bossi and John Evans of Stellwagen Symphonette. Judging Sam is a production of Pushkin Industries. Got a question or comment for me? There's a website for that. atrpodcast.com. That's atrpodcast.com. To find more Pushkin podcasts, listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you'd like to access bonus episodes and listen ad-free, don't forget to sign up for a Pushkin Plus subscription at pushkin.fm/plus or on our Apple show page.